So I've just set up a regular Illustrator document, 8.5 by 11 horizontal, and I'm going to set some type. I'm going to click down and drag. And select it and create my type. And I'm going to enlarge the size. And I can do that by just coming over here and typing this in, or I can put in a value, in this case 100 point, and of course I'm going to keep it like that. The other alternative would be to just grab your text tool, click down, and start typing. So now that I have that, what I want to do is, as always, I'm going to keep a copy of that. So I'm going to go Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste, and I'm going to work from this copy. So I don't want to use it as type anymore. I'm going to create a graphic with it. I know that everything is spelled correctly. I'm happy with the spacing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Object, Type, Create Outlines. Now, one of the things that I'm not happy about, and that's why I wanted to show you this, is that this double F has created what we call a ligature, which is when two letters are put together. And Illustrator saw it as two letters put together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to manually put in a space between the two F's. So you see that it does change the shape of the F when it's not a ligature or the two letters together. So now I can go Type, Create Outlines. Now, of course, even though I've created outlines, it's still seeing it as one group. Now, what I want to do is move this F over, so I'm going to do Object, Ungroup, click on this and move it over. In this case, I'm just using my arrow keys. And then I'm going to select it all, move this out of the way, select this, and go Object, Group. Now it's grouped together, and I'm going to try a couple of different things. One, I'm going to go ahead and make a copy of that and move it to the side because I'm going to do two different things with it. One thing I'm going to do is now that I have it selected, I can go to Effect, and we've got a bunch of different effects, and I'm going to go to Warp. And what I want to do really is open up the transform window. So I'm just going to pick the first one there, that's arc. And if you see, it's showing me what it's going to look like with an arc, and I can adjust it, whether it's a lot of arc or a little arc. I can go in the opposite direction, as you can see. So that's one option. Can also try some of these others, like arch. Bump it up. I can try flag, which is kind of giving me where I want to be, and I can adjust it. Or I could try something like another one I might use is rise, or inflate. Of course, the bigger inflate, the more weird it looks. So it might do just a little bit. This particular font doesn't really lend itself well to being inflated or deflated. So I'm going to go back to flag, and that's what I want to use. Now you'll notice that it's still seeing or presenting me the outline of the type. That's something we're going to get rid of because that's going to affect some of the things that we do. So when I get it bent the way I want it, I'm going to say OK. Now it's still seeing, it has applied the effect to it, but it still sees the original form there. I'm fine with it. I don't need the original form. I have a copy of it down here. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to go Object, Expand Appearance. And now you see that the ghost image of the original type has disappeared. So now that I've got that, once again, I'm going to make a copy and paste. And by the way, I have not saved yet. So I'm going to say save. And I'm going to, you see that I had a coronavirus folder that I was working in. And I'm going to call it sweetstuff.ai. Now that I've got these copies out of the way, what I want to do is like a staggered kind of sweet tarts looking thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my swatches. Actually, I'm going to open up Window, Swatch Libraries, Color Books, and we'll go Pantone Solid Coated. And I'm just going to pick like blue. So what I want to do is I want to have a swell around it, a white outline. So I'm going to copy and paste it. And you'll notice that there is no stroke value on this type. So if I put a stroke in, and I'm going to color it so you can see it, and if I enlarge it over here under stroke, or make it something like that, you can see that I can still line it up. And if I go Object, Arrange, Send to Back, that's what we've got. Now I see some problematic stuff in here. That just shows that I'm not paying attention. That's bad design. So what I want to do is I'm going to move this one out of the way. And just like before, I might as well save myself a little bit of trouble and color it all in. I'm going to go to Object, Expand. And this time it's asking me, you want to expand the fill, the stroke? Yes, yes. And now you can kind of see all the outlines. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Pathfinder and punch it all together. And once I've punched it all together, I can take my direct selection tool, click off of it, zoom in, and I can click in here and delete these things. And I think that was the last, nope. I probably want to get rid of that little one too. So I'm going to delete that. So now I can come back here. Whoops. And move this here. And of course I can also do some fun stuff. I could move it slightly off center so it would kind of have that kind of feel to it. It doesn't have to be directly in the center. And maybe I want to do a little white offset. So I'm going to copy and paste this. And this time I'm going to change this to white with no outline. And I can do that. I can grab my orange, and I can even go for broke and put another stroke on that if I wanted to. I'm just moving it with my keyboard with my arrow keys. And that gives me, well, I'm not really crazy about the colors, but that gives me kind of something that I can work with. Now, some of the other ones had little bits of highlights on the letters. So I'm going to show you how you can do that. I'm going to copy and paste it. I'm going to come over here and get out of the way of the other stuff. And this is on my desktop, and I'm doing that so that I can see it, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this in. And what I really want is I'm looking for that little bit of overlap. So I'm going to go ahead and color this one so you can just see it a little better. And with that overlap, it's going to give me just a little bit of that edge of the blue, which is what I want. Now what I've got to do is I need to punch that yellow out of the way. So I'm going to grab both of these and I'm going to go Object, Ungroup. And now if I grab this letter and this letter together, I've just grabbed them both, and I go to Pathfinder, and instead of merging them together, which would give me that, I'm going to punch out or minus the front. So it's going to give me that all the way down the line. The only disadvantage is I have to do these individually. I can't grab a whole bunch of them at once. So it's only going to take a second. I'm going to do this. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, if it's blue, how are we going to see that as a highlight on my Sweet Stuff letters? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out. Now I can select all of this. I can group it together by going Object, Group, which I just did with a keyboard shortcut. And I can change the color to white, or I could change it to anything really. I mean, if I wanted to change it to like a gradient or something, but I'm just going to stick with white. And now if I move it over here, in fact, I'm not going to keep it white, but let's just go ahead and put it on top of it so we can see it. And the reason why I'm not going to keep it white is because it's going to get confused with this little drop shadow thing. And I'm going to color it, I don't know, something like that. And that gives us just a little bit to play with. Now, technically, if I wanted to, I could come here, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move this one out of the way, because if you'll notice, since I didn't scale it, it's exactly the same size. So I'm just staggering it a little bit. It's more effective if I scale it, but I can't scale it all together because then it'll be off. It'll be weird looking. So if I come back here and I go Object Ungroup, and then I choose each individual group with my selection tool, not my direct selection tool, and I bring it up here, and I now scale it a little bit, kind of play with it, and then I can actually go Object Ungroup, and I can now adjust individually each little piece. And that's going to give me what I'm looking for. Now I find that this is overlapping, so now that it's ungrouped, I can just grab my eraser tool, get rid of it like that. And that's going to take a little bit of effort, but I think it's going to be well worth it. It's going to look really, really good. And I can come back here, and remember, your eraser tool in Illustrator only erases what you have selected. So since I have this object selected, it doesn't matter if I come over here and it looks like it's erasing it. When I let go, it doesn't, but it will erase the heck out of whatever I have selected. So there's just a couple of tips and tricks of things that you might want to do when you're creating the letter form, at least for your logo. If you have any questions, reach out.